What's up, guys? This is my first YouTube show, and I've been watching some videos about how to make like a good YouTube video, and as far as I can tell, you just basically go, "What's up, it's your boy," and then continue with your video. So, without further ado, what's up, it's your boy! I don't know what I'm doing. I figured I'd give you some words of encouragement today. I love you guys to death. You guys are my kids, and I wanted to tell you guys how great you are. If you don't hear it every day, I know a lot of people don't, you're going to hear it right now. I think the world of you. I think that you guys are awesome. You guys have fire in your belly. You got spunk. You got attitude, and it's amazing to see what you can do with that through Christ. Last few weeks, we've been talking about social media. The first week, we talked about specifically desensitization and how social media can desensitize us to different issues in the world, whether it's violence, sex, music, language, whatever it is. Social media oftentimes desensitizes us into going along with the rest of the world, and it's a danger that we all need to be aware of. The week after that, we talked about pornography and the dangers of pornography. Did you know that over 50% of boys from the age of 11 to 13 have seen pornography? Once they get even older, it gets worse. So by the time boys are 18, I think it's 95% of boys have seen pornography at some point in their life. It's lower for girls, but it's still prevalent in their lives too. And the struggle about today is that it's everywhere. You're going to get some form of pornography, whether you're watching TV, you're on social media, or TikTok, can't stand it. Or if you're actively searching for it on the internet, you're going to get pornography somewhere. And it's such a prevalent issue in today's society. Last week we talked about social media and the double life that it pushes onto us. I'm not going to sit here and condemn social media. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's the devil. It's not. Plain and simple. It is a tool. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. And it's as simple as that. But with that being said, social media does often push us into having a double life. What I mean by that is that it allows us to make this persona of online you and act like it's the real you. The problem with that is that it doesn't represent you at all. Now, not everybody's guilty of this. Some people are just as real as they are online as they are offline, but from my experience, most people who have social media have trouble with making a double life, myself included. There's some issues with that. First one that I can think of that is pretty passive aggressive. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say I have an issue in my life and I really need to work on it. I know I need to work on it. It's something that I want to get rid of, something I'm tired of, something that I don't want around anymore. Well, social media gives us a chance to take those flaws and put them aside for a minute, and we can just focus on being the perfect image that is us. Well, the problem with that is we're not perfect. We're flawed and we're messed up just like everybody else. And so what happens is you can even fall into some real issues with your self-esteem because, you see your friends, they're like, well, online Luke is really cool. Online Luke has it all together. Online Luke has a wife, a baby, he loves his jobs, he loves his church, he loves his family. Online Luke has it all. But in reality, I don't know if that's the case. But social media allows us to be perfect. Does that make sense? Another issue with social media and the double life that it brings is really, for lack of a better term, it's a lie. You're telling the world that you are this well put together, perfect individual who really doesn't have any mess ups in life, who goes throughout life and everything's good and everything's kosher, everything's wonderful, when in reality that's not even true. And it could lead into people thinking you're this person that you're not, and it can lead to people thinking that you don't need help, when in reality you do. So let's talk about a character in the Bible who lived a vast and serious double life. If you haven't already guessed who I might be talking about, his name is Judas Iscariot. So who is Judas Iscariot? Well, for starters, we know that he was a disciple of Jesus Christ, meaning that he was part of Jesus' ministry from the beginning to almost the end. Judas was there for it all. He saw people be healed. He saw demons get cast out. He was there through it all. Another thing that we know about him is that he was in charge of the money that the disciples had. So they had different money that they could keep on continuing their ministry. And Judas was in charge of that. Not only was he in charge of that, but he would often steal from it. And so you have this money that's supposed to be going to ministry, and he's taking it and putting it in his own pocket. It also says that Satan entered him after he touched a piece of bread. Now, I don't think it was the bread that did anything, but it's kind of interesting how the story goes. So you have the 12 disciples who are sitting around Jesus at the Last Supper, and one of the disciples asks, "Who is it that's going to betray you?" And Jesus says, "The one who I give this piece of bread to after I dip it is the one who's going to betray me." He gives that to Judas, and it says that Satan entered him at that point. First of all, you have that Jesus knew that he was going to betray him. Not only does he know that, but he still calls him friend, which I think is pretty interesting. And it also begs the question, if Satan entered him, how much of this was Satan and how much of this was Judas? Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that in order for Satan to enter him, Judas had to let him and had to open his heart to Satan, and maybe he had his heart open to Satan the entire time. But Satan did enter him before he betrayed him. Another thing that we know is that ultimately Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss. For some reason, a kiss was the way that Judas was going to distinguish between everybody else and Jesus, so that they knew who to arrest. So he betrayed Jesus with a kiss, and after all this has happened, after he finds out everything that's happening to Jesus, Judas feels remorse for his actions. Matter of fact, he feels so much remorse for his actions that he took the money that he sold Jesus out for, and he went and tried to return it to them. And when they wouldn't take it, he threw it at their feet. And it says that Judas felt so bad for his actions that he actually went and killed himself. So after hearing that, I think Judas kind of had this double life thing going on. The reason I say that is because here's a guy who followed Jesus throughout his whole ministry from beginning to end. Like I said before, he saw Jesus cast out demons. He saw him heal people. He saw him love people. He saw him be Jesus. Not only that, but Jesus called him friend. Not only that, but he washed his feet. He cared for Judas. Here you have this guy who has what I would say is more resources to grow his faith than anybody else. I mean, he walked with Jesus. He talked with him. He knew him. He was his friend. But it says in Matthew that he would steal money frequently. So much so to the point where he would want control of what is sold and what is given away so that he could get more money for himself. You see, I think Judas had a heart issue. I think Judas was living a double life. I don't think Judas betraying Jesus was some spur of the moment thing. I think that Judas looks a lot like me. What do I mean by that? Well, how many times have I betrayed Jesus by doing exactly what he doesn't want me to do? How many times have I known exactly what was wrong and done the same thing? How many times have I gone out of my way to act worldly in order to gain popularity or status or friends? How many times have I done that? It's a good question to ask yourself. My question to you is, are you living a double life? Now, I'm not saying that you have to be perfect. We're all flawed individuals. That's part of humanity. We all make mistakes. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. But are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with yourself and who you are to the world, to your family, to your friends, to yourself? And ultimately, are you being honest with God? If the answer to that is no, then I think you have some thinking to do. And I think if the answer to that question is no, then maybe it's time that you stop putting on this mask. Maybe it's time you take off that mask and show the world who you really are and be honest with yourself. That way, you can finally start working on the issues that you know you need to work on. If the answer to that is no, by all means, come find me. Come talk to me. We can work on this as much as you'd like. That's what I'm here for. And I love that part of my job. And I'll say that God doesn't want the perfect you that you portray on social media. He doesn't want the perfect you that you show the world. God wants the you that is real. He wants the unadulterated, real you that you know that you are. Does that mean that we should never work on our flaws? No, of course we should. But how can we allow God to work on our hearts if all we do is hide our heart behind a wall of airbrush photos on Instagram or posts that make us look different than who we really are? Something to think about. Have a good week. What's up? It's your boy again. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share that to whoever you think might need it, or just on your social media page. I don't know. Share wherever you want to share it. Just put it out there. Regardless, I'm thankful for you watching the video, and I ask that you continue keeping your eye out for other content that I'm going to be putting out within the next, I don't know how long. It should be a while. Regardless, keep an eye out. Thanks so much. You guys are awesome.